Last year, the administration of Governor Susana Martinez launched an audit of 15 behavioral health providers and claimed the findings found $36 million in fraud. Medicaid payments to those providers were frozen, and the Attorney General launched an investigation. The state brought in Arizona companies to take over those providers, some of whom have since closed, including one provider in Alamogordo that was subsequently cleared of fraud by the Attorney General. And news organizations and the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government recently renewed legal efforts to force the release of the full audit. So far, this has been unsuccessful, but recent articles in the Santa Fe New Mexican reveal that the state paid one of those Arizona firms before the audit was even completed. Now, some lawmakers want to use the legislative subpoena power to get more answers from the administration. And joining me to talk about this and other stories of the week, we have line regular Rob Nicoleski of the New Mexico Watchdog. Also here this week is line regular attorney Sophie Martin. Returning once more to the table is former Democratic State Senator Dee Feldman. And we welcome back to the line table Tripp Jennings. He is executive director for the online news portal New Mexico In Depth. Tripp, let me start with you. Your outlet has been all over this for the past year. You were suing to get that audit release, part of that whole situation I mentioned. But there's something I want to clear up first before we get to the overall about the behavioral health issue. We have some movement this week on one of the folks that was found, I'm going to use a term here, guilty of something and then not guilty of something else, meaning cleared by the Attorney General in some sense, but now they're back in the mix being looked at again. What's the story there? Who is it and what's going on?
Yeah, so it's Easter Seals El Mirador, one of the 15 agencies. The AG cleared it in April 30th of fraud. Right. And then the HSD, Human Services Department, read the AG's case report and said, we think that in this very narrow slice of services where you guys are contracting out with people to direct children's behavior in public settings, including schools, that the AG, you use the wrong criteria by which to judge whether they are doing something fraudulent. So they kicked it back to the AG's office. The AG's office accepted the referral. The spokesperson for the AG's office told me in an email that their HSD wanted them to talk to one witness who actually has some understanding of billing and whatnot. Now, the folks at Easter Seals say that they've been certified by the state for years to do this kind of stuff. And if they had been improperly billing, they should have been called out on this. Because CYFD, Children, Youth, and Families, one of their divisions actually certifies folks who do these kind of services.
And there's mechanisms in place, through Optum and other to snake this kind of stuff out. Rob, it's interesting to me, just a final note on what Tripp set up, the testimony of one person here seems awfully odd to me. Like they couldn't have found that person before during the investigation? It's interesting.
Well, the other thing too is we also learned this week that there was someone from El Mirador who's been accused of embezzlement. So I don't know if that's got something to do with this, but this is a complicated story that's been going on now for it's been going for a year, but really the investigation from Optum started back in 2012. That's right. So it's become public for a year, but it's actually been going on for a long time.
Take us through some of the situation here with what I said in the setup about being set up before the audit was actually finished, some of the Arizona companies. What are some of the numbers, who's involved, and what's the problem here?
Well, there are 15 organizations that were accused of allegations of fraud. And it came from an auditing company out of Boston. And that's something that's been an issue as well, too, because on the one hand, you could say, well, an organization from Boston, they don't have they don't have a dog in this fight. But on the other hand, there's been accusations that once an auditing company or an auditing firm like that, the more they can find, the more they can get. So it's complicated. I don't know if we'll be able to, I hope as a fellow reporter that Tripp's organization is able to get the information from that audit, but I'm not sure if that's going to be happening until the Attorney General's office gets a decision done, whether someone's cleared or not cleared, and we still have, I think, 10 more organizations they have to go through.
Exactly right, in an election year.
Right, yes.
In fact, we'll get to that in a second. Senator, good to see you again, and my question on here is, HSD is saying they were being prudent. We have this thing come out, $36 million was found in fraud by this Boston firm. They're negotiating with this Arizona company. There's this weird gray area lag time. They're just covering their bases there. Did you buy that when you read their reasoning for giving Arizona companies money before the before the audit was even finished?
Well, I think HSD has tried to micromanage and prejudge this audit from the very beginning. And the fact that they hired the Arizona companies, the fact that they gave extra money to the Boston auditor shows that they had an outcome in mind here from the very beginning. And they're going to pursue it. You know, until hell freezes over here. And despite, you know, the fact that the audit is not public, the providers have been given no due process. And, you know, there's just, and the legislature has tried to weigh in on this a number of times. Last summer, this has been a year ago now, the LFC said, no, we're not going to give you $10 million extra that you want to bring in these Arizona companies. They voted 15-1 in the Legislative Finance Committee that they weren't going to do it, and the governor took the money from someplace else and did it anyway. I think the legislature should subpoena them. I'm glad they're taking that step, but I'm not very confident in the Human Services Department.
Sophie, it's interesting. It's not only the timing that we're talking about here with Senator, but the amounts are really quite eye-opening. $250 to $300 an hour to do things like waiting at the airport,
right,
making staff IDs,
badges, things like that.
It's just really amazing.
So
numbers.
one of the really interesting things that we find out is Agave, one of the companies out of Arizona, was paid a little bit more than $172,000 in the first 6 months of 2013. Right. Much of that before the audit was completed. That's a big chunk of change. Right. And it raises questions in my mind. Yeah, I get the idea that HSC, that the state wants any replacement or help to sort of have a running start, for them to get there, get on the ground, get moving quickly. But this is a phenomenal amount of money, it seems to me, that was spent on an hourly basis for things that, as the New Mexico companies have pointed out, a New Mexico company couldn't have billed for cell phones, for tipping hotel staff.
$6,000 worth of cell phone, by the way.
Yes, but these are things that if they had attempted to bill,
those, be accused of fraud.
Those would have come up in the audit as a big problem.
That's right.
But here we see the Arizona firms doing this, and it seems extraordinary measures were taken to defend against what is starting to seem like a vanishingly small amount of money. It remains to be seen. I'm really curious. I have perhaps a little money on this at home over whether we will have spent more in Arizona than we saved at the end of this audit, or than we find at the end of this audit. And I'm, you know, I might win lunch. We'll see.
You might.
Well, another complicating factor about this, and I did a story on this last year, is that I talked to an official of the Attorney General's office, Al Lama, who I believe has since left, but he pointed out that because of provision in the Affordable Care Act, that gives the state agency much more power than they used to. They make the determination of what is a, quote, credible allegation of fraud. And so that's another extra layer to this story that's already pretty complicated.
So the thing about the credible allegation of fraud is that this is a lower standard than used to be in the federal regulations. It used to be reliable evidence. Now it's, so this is like, as Brent Ernest, who is with the HSD, told lawmakers last year in Las Cruces, there's a suspicion that there's something might be untoward.
I'll buy that. Why not?
At the same time, we have to understand that PCG audit it's not an accounting firm, as in like accountants.
Price Waterhouse or something.
This is more like a contract, right? And so with accounting, the best practices is always to show the results. To say, hey, what? Tell us if we've got this wrong. Are there some things we didn't understand? That wasn't done here in this case.
Let me finish with Senator Feldman on this one. I appreciate you bringing up your old colleague Senator Ortiz-Pino and Bill O'Neill and the idea of subpoena. I want to revisit that for just a minute we have left here. What can the legislature actually do here to uncork this beyond subpoena? Is there another leverage point here for the legislature or the LFC, in fact?
Well, they've tried funding, and that didn't work. The problem is that the legislature has ceded a lot of power to the executive when it comes to Medicaid. And Medicaid is a federal state program. And so in other states, you know, I think that state legislatures have more input than in New Mexico.
Because there was some tough language from Jerry Ortiz-Pino about, you know, feeling like the legislature is being left out here, and there are 3 branches of government, and it can't function that way.
Can I say something real
Please.
quick? Last summer, when the LFC voted 15-1, the law actually doesn't say that the 15-1 vote was efficacious. I mean, it didn't. The administration can do whatever they wanted to.
Sure.
It was basically, you had to have a hearing on this before. So it wasn't like the 15 vote was efficacious. This stopped it.
Let's see what happens with that. That's an interesting thing. I'm going to stop you there. We get a little out of time on that one, but we're going to come back to that. Coming up, we revisit the odd circumstances around the death of an attorney who took on the Albuquerque Police Department.